Well, the first thing I want to show is this center roller mount. For some reason I had a most difficult time understanding the assembly instructions. This bar has to fit to the back here and come underneath, and your bolt will be right here. And this is very critical because it keeps the bar from bending. These little nylon strips, they go through the canvas, and you have to do that very early in the game. There's two that goes on this main one, this main vinyl, one that goes on the roll-up bar there and one that goes out here. You have to do that with the canvas still in the floor because they're very hard to thread through. You have to thread them and pull them, thread them and pull them, and so you want to do that very early there. And then you want it, both of them in there before you try to attach this. The next thing is these arm shoulders. I call them brackets, but after you mount them you can adjust the tilt of how it tilts down or tilts up. And you loosen these two bolts and you come out to tilt it down more, and you go in to tilt it up more. I want it tilted down, and I've got mine tilted down to the maximum because the sun comes up from over there in the afternoon, and I want it down. Good. The next thing I want to show is pay attention to how this shoulder arm is mounted here, where it tilts up and down. When they sent me this awning, they didn't have this center arm bar mounted correctly. It was mounted upside down, and there was no way to connect it to these bolts right over here, so I knew I had to turn it over. But I made a mistake. I turned it over right here, and if I'd turned it over here, it'd been okay. As a result of turning it over here, whenever I sent it out, the center bar was pushing up and the two end bars are pushing down, and it broke the center arm bar. But I called the manufacturer, and they were real good and they was easy to get a hold of, and they're sending me another. Good. Alright, another thing I had a problem with is this thing right here. I didn't know where these things went. I knew these were simple enough, but this right here is called a blocker, and I haven't got mine on, but you can see it on page 5, step C of the instructions. Good. The next thing I want to show is you can see that center arm is gone. I hadn't got it in yet, and but I've already got it up. And as far as mounting the center roll-up bar and that bar out there, all of that's pretty simple. You can lay the parts out on the floor and figure it out for yourself without instructions. So the parts that give me a fit are the parts I've covered here. And like I say, the manufacturer has been great about working with me on it. So I'm going to pull it back in. And I'm using it as is until I get that other brace in there. But I noticed that tilting it down like it is don't get as much wind underneath it. Alright, good. I'll show this thing going in and out, and I got a couple items to add there. On page 2 of the instructions, it's very important to familiarize yourself with the terminology. Like that shoulder arm, I would have called it a bracket, and I call them arms out there tension arms. That's not right. So if you have an issue or need to contact the manufacturer, I highly suggest that you get on to page 2 and make sure that you use the same terminology that they use as far as what they call there. This is a view from a riverside, and something I didn't mention before, but if you have trouble with it being bounced when you let it out, one side's higher than the other, you can do that with that arm adjustment I showed you earlier there, where you adjust it up and down, tilt it out and in. And I didn't say anything about the remote because the instructions on it are real good. It's got a limit. They got a little old plastic too where you can set the stop and the out limit and the in limit, and all that is very, very well done in the instructions. I only covered what I had an issue with. I hope it helps you. And of course, my main issue was that that center arm was mounted upside down. If that hadn't been like that, I might not have had near as much trouble. And as I said before, the manufacturer, they were great to work with. They were easy to get a hold of. They responded right away, and shipped right away. So yeah, I highly recommend them. But they did screw up on that center bar there. The awning is up and the sun's out. Looks like my boat's fixing to go out. And there goes the boat.